All right, so in this lab, what you're going to do is basically we're going to take what we've learned about building atoms and using the periodic table to finally come up with the appropriate picture of the atom, right? Up until this point, all I've really cared about is how can you figure out exactly how many protons, neutrons, and electrons you have. But I've told you I didn't really care where the electrons go. Now that we know these things called electron rings and valence electrons, um, it's going to matter where we put those electrons, right? These electrons go in a specific place, just like protons and neutrons go in the nucleus, right? These electrons have a specific ring that they go onto, right? So that's what this lab is going to do, is now taking those things together. So let's do the first example, which is helium, right? Helium has an atomic number of 2, which is right here, okay? So when I fill this out, right, first off, this is helium, right? For electron rings, remember electron rings is all about what period it's in, right? So since it's in the very first period, it's got 1 electron ring, right? Now that's going to be important for us when we have to actually build, right, our atom, which we'll do next, okay? The number of valence electrons, right? Remember what we talked about, right? We ignore the middle part, right? And basically what you're doing is you're counting how many are in each period. So in this case, right, helium has 2 valence electrons. I know it's in that column where there's 8, but remember, helium and hydrogen are those special ones because it's only got 1 ring. Remember, since there's only 2 elements in the first period, it's full with 2 electrons, right? So its valence electrons is 2, right? So now when we just take this, we're going to switch this over to making the, right, the atom, right? What we want to do is we want to figure out, okay, how many protons, how many neutrons, how many electrons we want to have, right? Now, if you go back here, right, remember, helium has an atomic number of 2, so I know that it has 2 protons, right? It's got 2 protons, right? And I also know that it has 2 electrons, right? Because remember, the number of positive things have to equal the number of negative things, right? Now, since I wrote that it has 1 electron ring and it has 2 valence electrons, these 2 electrons must go in the very first ring, right? And since there's only 1 ring, it's got only 2 valence electrons, right? Remember, valence electrons means the electrons in the outermost ring, okay? Now, the hardest part is actually finding how many neutrons there are, right? And that's basically looking here and looking at the atomic mass, right? Remember, atomic mass is like the mass number. So this tells me right here the number of protons and neutrons. So since this is a 4, and I already have 2 protons, right, I should have 2 neutrons because that'll give me 4, right, for my mass number or my atomic mass. So this right here is the picture of helium, okay?